Welcome to Dashing Dish. Today is breakfast for dinner, and I have my husband, a self-proclaimed donut connoisseur, joining me for his favorite meal of the day. Today's menu includes fluffy and golden sheet pan pancakes, clean eating chocolate cake donuts, crisp on the outside, yummy on the inside hash brown nests, and a low sugar, protein packed orange cream cooler. It's breakfast for dinner coming up. Today's show is all about breakfast, and it wouldn't be breakfast in my house without pancakes. The only thing that I don't love about making pancakes is standing over a griddle and pouring each one individually. So we're making it in a sheet pan. We're gonna do one giant pancake, which is a perfect breakfast for dinner. And I have my dry ingredients here that I'm gonna add to the bowl. I have oat flour, which we do 2.5 cups of oat flour for this recipe. Then I'm also going to add 1/3 cup of sweetener. You can add any kind of granulated sweetener that you like. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And this just helps the pancake rise, and it's really puffy. And when I first created this recipe, I thought to myself, well, I don't really know how much we're gonna be able to get this pancake to rise up, because to me, that's what pancakes are all about. They have to be light and fluffy. But this one really rises up, and it's wonderful to serve with strawberries or whatever toppings you like. I also did 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then I'm gonna stir the dry ingredients together. I also like this sheet pan pancake because you can make it ahead of time, and it's also great for leftovers the next day. Okay, so that looks good. Now I'm gonna add my wet ingredients. I have 1/2 cup of applesauce. Then I did 1 cup of almond milk, or any kind of milk will work great. Then I'm gonna do 2 eggs. And then 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Now you can use any kind of vinegar, but I do recommend white vinegar for this recipe just so that you don't taste it. And the vinegar is what helps the pancakes rise so they're light and fluffy. And then last but not least, 1/2 teaspoon of almond or vanilla extract. So now I'm gonna stir this together until it's well combined. And you know, as far as pancakes go in our house, I have a funny story about them. Maddie, when she was about 1 year old, there was a period of time where I really could not get her to eat anything. She just kind of stopped eating anything that she previously liked, and she would spit everything out. It was just a phase that she went through, and it was a really hard time for me. I thought, what on earth do I feed my baby? And not only that, but she just stopped taking bottles, and so I thought, okay, I really gotta get nutrition in her somehow. So I started to make some mashed banana pancakes. And all I did was I took a banana that was really ripe, mashed it, and mixed it with some eggs and some cinnamon, and she devoured them. So there was a period of time when that was pretty much all I was feeding Maddie, was just these banana pancakes. So to this day, she still loves pancakes, and I make these in a big batch for her, and our whole family enjoys them. So now I'm just gonna pour this into a 15-inch baking pan. And you wanna make sure that it's a rimmed baking pan so that it does not drip over the sides. So if you have a baking pan that's really shallow and has short sides, then it will essentially pop over when it bakes up. So you want to get one that has a tall side. And this is a 15-inch, but really a medium-sized baking pan will work. I'm going to bake this 425 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. And coming up next, I'm going to make the perfect side to go with it, some egg and hash brown nests. We all know that Sean's a picky eater, but the funny thing is there's nothing that he's more picky about than donuts. Whenever we travel, he's always on the lookout for the best of the best donut shop. I always say, oh, there's a few donut shops down the street, and yet, no, he's gotta check his favorite foodie websites and check social media, do shout outs. Hey, who knows the best donut shop in the area? And it's so funny because although he's tried a ton of different flavors with all the different sprinkles and toppings and you name it, His favorite tend to be the mom and pop shop down the road with the classic chocolate glaze. He still tries to convince me that donuts are the perfect breakfast meal, and although I'm not convinced, he still says that donuts are the best meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or any time of day. I have the king of donuts with me today to make our chocolate donuts with chocolate frosting.
Ooh, sounds yummy.
And I cannot wait to make donuts with you. I feel like this is the pinnacle moment of us cooking together.
Yes.
Making donuts.
Yes, it's like my dream come true.
It's no joke that Sean is a lover of donuts. In fact, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's your favorite food. Would you call that a food?
I would. I mean, it's all the categories for me.
Our donuts are going to be much healthier than the kind that you can buy at a bake shop. And that's because we're going to bake them and we're going to use all my favorite ingredients, oat flour, almond flour, cocoa powder, instead of that deep fried white and sugary dough. But of course, we would not make it too healthy because it has to have a chocolate frosting. So Sean, yes. I'm gonna have you make the chocolate frosting for these. We have a 1/2 cup peanut butter, a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, some cocoa powder, and a little bit of milk. So Sean, add the milk last into the bowl. Just
dump
enough.
Everything in?
Yeah, just enough until it's like a good frosting texture.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do all of the dry ingredients. Here we have some sweetener, a 1/4 cup of sweetener, 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, cup of oat flour, and a 1/2 cup of almond flour, and then just some salt and some baking soda. Now, Sean.
Yes.
I have to ask you, what do you think your favorite donut of all time is? Can you answer that? I'm sure
I can easily answer that. I grew up in Saline, so there's a famous bakery out there called Benny's, and you know, ever since I was really little, that's what I always went there to get, and just a simple, plain, chocolate frosted yeast donut was my favorite.
So they're called glazed?
No, it's just a plain, plain donut with just chocolate frosting on it. It's super simple, but the chocolate, for some reason, it just gets me, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what they're called. So there have been a few times I've went to order donuts for him. And I'm like, so that one right there, I don't know what it's called. But that goes to show how much I really know about true donuts. However, you do approve of this donut recipe.
Yes.
And so does Maddie.
Yes, Maddie
loves these. She asks for these. So, hey, they can't be too far from the real thing, right? If the Donut King likes them.
Yes.
But I'll never forget the time that I went to go pick out donuts for you, and I was a bag of nerves. I could barely even ask the person behind the counter for what I wanted. I was just like, give me a dozen. I don't even care what. Because I just found out at the time that I was pregnant. And Sean was on a trip, and I was so thankful that he was gone, because I think if he were home, I was in such shock because it took us years to get pregnant.
Yeah.
I would have probably just blurted it out, and I would have regretted it. So I had a few days to figure out a really cute way of telling him. So I went to a bakery, and we don't have any close bakeries by us.
No, there's not a lot in Brighton.
Yeah, so I think I drove like 45 minutes to a bakery that he likes, and I said, give me a dozen. Drove home, and I put a little onesie that said, God answered, inside the donut box with the donuts. And so I told him, hey, when he came down in the morning, and I was so nervous. I was sitting on the couch, I mean, I was shaking, and I set up a little camera to record his reaction so he couldn't see it.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, hey, just so you know, I got you some donuts. And he was like, you did? First of all, Dashing Dish is buying?
She doesn't buy me donuts.
She's buying me donuts? What is this? And then I was like, oh, hey, you know, go check out that donut box, see if I got the right kind, because I don't really know if I even ordered the right ones. So thankfully he didn't dilly-dally, which I can't imagine you would when it comes to donuts.
No, I went straight for him.
Yeah, he went straight over the donut box and he opened it up. And do you remember what you first thought?
I saw the pregnancy test and I wondered, why is this next to donut?
Oh yeah, and I put a pregnancy test in there. I mean, you gotta do it, but you know, looking back, I'm like, yeah, that probably was
I just
the
immediately
onesie would have done fine.
I broke down and just started bawling because I was so thankful, and then found out later that you filmed me. So.
Do you remember what your first thoughts were though?
I was just so elated and so thankful. I was just so thankful. We've been waiting so long, so it was just a dream come true. And now Maddie's here, and she is precious.
She is. She's our joy. She's Madeline Joy. So the frosting looks really good. It looks creamy, smooth, and you can't go wrong because it's peanut butter and chocolate. So, I mean, obviously it's gonna taste amazing. It's mostly peanut butter. All right, so now the batter is done, and it's really thick. That's fine. You want it to be thick so that you can kind of fill the donut holes here. Sean, do you want to help me out with this?
I can try.
If you want to take the spatula, you can kind of get it like that, or how about I give you the measuring cup?
Okay.
And then you can use that little spatula.
And just throw it in there?
Yep. So this makes 6 donuts. If you don't have a donut pan, you can always do it in a muffin tin. They will be smaller, so you'll want to bake them for a shorter time, and then they'll come out obviously like muffins, not donut shape, but they still turn out delicious. So I'm gonna put these in the oven 300 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. And then when they're completely cooled, we can frost them with your delicious chocolate peanut butter frosting. Coming up next, perfect for brunch or dinner, these hash brown nests are the perfect combination of eggs and sweet potatoes. But let's not forget a delicious, smooth orange cream cooler to complement the meal. Okay, so I told Sean he could have a little break after making those donuts. Apparently that just was a lot of work. No, is that demeaning? That made him sound so small. He can't even make a donut. I wanted to whip up this quick recipe to go along with our sweets, and so I told Sean he could take a quick break. Because to me, the perfect breakfast has a blend of sweet and salty, and that's another reason I love breakfast for dinner. So we have some hash brown egg nests. And what makes these a little nest is that we make them in a muffin tin. So you can use 2 really large potatoes and grate them yourself. I like to use sweet potatoes or golden sweet potatoes, which are basically just a white sweet potato. Or you can buy frozen hash browns. Just make sure you thaw them out beforehand. So if you're gonna do hash browns, take about 2 cups of frozen hash browns and thaw them out just so that they're softened. And then I have 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, a 1/3 cup of shredded cheese, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And that's it. These are super easy to make. Sean has always loved breakfast for dinner, so whenever I give him options and I say, hey Sean, what do you want for dinner? And the minute that I say breakfast, he says, breakfast! I don't even have to say anything else. And he's loved breakfast for dinner since he was little. In fact, I remember when we were dating, I would go over to his house and his mom would always be making big batches of French toast. I kid you not, it was like every time I went over there, she was making French toast. And so then when we got married, I told Sean, I said, you know, what recipes do you want me to ask your mom for? So he said, of course, his mom's French toast. And I thought, I don't need a recipe for French toast. It's so easy. You just put some eggs, some milk in a bowl, you whip them up, and you dip bread in. How hard is that? I don't need his mom's recipe for it. I can do it. So for about the first 3 years of our marriage, I made French toast just how I thought it should be made. And apparently I was doing something terribly wrong because it came out about 5 years into our marriage that all the time that I had been making French toast, Sean was basically swallowing it whole, and he said, I didn't want to tell you because I knew it would hurt your feelings, but your French toast is absolutely terrible. I don't know what you're doing wrong, but something about it is way off. And so I said, I have no idea. How can you mess up French toast? So I called up his mom and I said, okay, you'll have to tell me what I'm doing wrong with this French toast because apparently I'm messing the whole thing up. And she told me the ratio of egg to milk is very important so that the French toast does not get soggy, and you have to use the really thick French toast bread in order for it to not get soggy as well. And so I made those few switches and Sean absolutely loves it now. But it was funny because all those years, I guess I was just horribly ruining French toast for him. But we love breakfast for dinner in our house, Sean, myself, and Maddie. We love the variation of sweet and salty foods. They're quick, they're easy, and they can be really nutritious. So what's not to love? So I'm gonna pop this in the oven, 425 degrees for 20 minutes. The potatoes will get really crisp and golden, and then we're gonna add some eggs on top, and it'll be the little hash brown nests. Okay, so I pulled the nests out of the oven and they're nice and golden brown, and now I'm just cracking 8 eggs onto them, so 1 individual egg per nest. And then I'm gonna pop them back into the oven to continue baking the eggs. And you can see how the potatoes are really crispy, and that's what I love about this recipe. And you can make these in advance, and you can serve them for a brunch or a breakfast, or of course, breakfast for dinner. So if you get your eggs just overflowing a little bit, or you break an egg, no problem, that happens. Sometimes the eggs are really jumbo like these are, and so they overflow just a bit, it won't matter. And then I'm gonna top with some bacon bits. Now this is optional. You could do green onions or anything that you like on your eggs, but I think this adds some pretty color and texture and of course flavor. These will be the perfect thing to go with our pancakes and our donuts. And I love having eggs for breakfast because they're a good source of protein and also healthy fat. All right, so these look great. I'm gonna bake them for 8 more minutes just until the eggs are set. Aside from the fact that bacon is pretty delicious, there are many reasons having breakfast for dinner is a wildly popular trend. First of all, eggs are a superfood. They are high in protein, low in calories, and packed with vitamins. Second, it's incredibly quick, with even the most elaborate dish taking less than 30 minutes. Third, the ingredients are relatively inexpensive. And last but not least, breakfast meals tend to be well balanced with a mix of healthy carbohydrates, fat, and protein to round out your day. Coming up next, orange cream shakes for breakfast or dessert? Yes, please. Protein packed, low in sugar, this treat is refreshing any time of day. Okay, so we're finishing off our breakfast with a drink that is perfect any time of day, but I love to have something, especially at night, that's refreshing because after a really long day of cooking and stuff, I'm thirsty. So I like to make something that goes along with our breakfast. A lot of times I make those strawberry smoothie slushies that everybody loves, but this is good because it's an orange cream cooler that I don't think you've ever had.
No, I have no idea. What's an orange cream cooler?
So an orange cream cooler is something that brings me back to my childhood.
Okay.
We've talked about your childhood with your French toast, okay? So this is something that I remember having growing up, and it's a restaurant called Olga's in Michigan. I don't know that there's many left, or even if they're national, but Olga's has this drink, and it's called Orange Cream Cooler. It's kind of like an Orange Julius. So you know what that is. A creamy orange drink, and this one has protein, and we even use a real orange in it. So it's gonna be delicious.
Sounds good.
All right, so to the blender, I'm gonna add 1 cup of Greek yogurt.
Okay.
And you just wanna do unsweetened Greek yogurt. You don't really taste the yogurt in there, it just makes it creamy.
Now, is this one of those recipes where you put cottage cheese in secretly?
No, I don't use cottage cheese in this recipe. Although you could if you wanted to. Before I cut the orange, I'm going to use the rind, so a little bit of the rind. You'd want to do about, I'd say, half of the rind of the orange, and that gives it a really fresh orange flavor, and it really brings out the orange. Because just the juice alone won't really do it. Then I'm going to cut the orange the rest of the way, and I'm going to squeeze some of the juice in. So Sean, where does your love for breakfast come from?
Just from my childhood. I mean, that's just, I think I like the love of carbs. I like
true.
bread. So I guess a lot of breakfast food includes bread. And so there you go. That's why I love it so much.
That's true. The other day we were just talking, in fact, about how you love carbohydrates. And we were talking about how if we think about all the foods that you eat, I was like, actually, it's mostly bread and pasta. So the good thing is that I try my best to choose the best types of bread and pasta. So I use brown rice pasta for Sean and Maddie, and I do sprouted whole grain bread, although he does eat a lot of it. So it is true, you know, as long as you balance out carbohydrates with fats and proteins, they're not a bad thing. And I think the whole low carb movement and the whole low fat movement before that makes people scared to have a balance of food, but if you choose the right kinds and you have a balance of all three nutrition, then you're gonna be doing really good. Okay, so now I'm gonna add 1 scoop of protein powder or a 1/4 cup. And vanilla works best for this recipe, so it's creamy. And then Sean, you wanna add the milk, just enough milk until it tops just about where the top of the ice is, so about 1 cup of milk.
Whole thing?
Yep, that works too, great. Okay, now we're gonna give this a blend. Okay, so that looks nice and creamy. And this is just a little bit of added protein for our meal. And Sean, I think that you're gonna really like this.
Is it supposed to be orange?
Well, you could add, that's a good question. You could add a few drops of orange food coloring if you like, or you can just serve it. It does have a little bit of orange in it because of the orange rind, so you don't really need it, but if you wanted it to look like a true orange Julius or cream cooler, then you could do some orange food coloring.
Well, it smells good.
Yeah, doesn't it smell good? All right.
So is this considered a dessert, or is this just like a refreshing?
This is just a refreshing drink, and it'll be a good little dose of protein and also some delicious hydration.
Cheers.
All right, let's go serve up our breakfast for dinner. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish up frosting these chocolate donuts. Don't these look good?
They look so good.
And I'll have you do the sprinkles, Maddie's favorite part.
I'm stealing Maddie's job. Uh-oh.
This was easy enough that you could do all of these recipes. If I'm not around, there is one thing that Sean does make for himself, French toast.
Yes.
He knows how to make his mom's French toast, because I guess after all those years of me making it the wrong way, he had to fend for myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, he took a few years where he did it for himself. So, but you could do all these easily. They look beautiful and
just go for it.
Easy to make. Okay, yep, you can go ahead and put the sprinkles on.
Maddie should teach me how to do this.
I'll have you try the one you did with sprinkles.
Okay, put them on. Okay.
How is it? Is it good?
Really good. It's got great texture.
Oh, good. Texture is everything for
Yeah.
Sean. So, and then we have our sheet pan pancakes, and you can drizzle these with a little bit of syrup and our egg nests, and it'll be the perfect way to round it out with our orange cream coolers. So this is the perfect breakfast for dinner, if you ask me. It's been so much fun cooking with you. There's nothing I'd rather make with you than breakfast for dinner, and especially your favorite donuts.
Yes.
For all of these recipes and more just like it, head over to dashingdish.com where you'll find recipes and more to nourish your body and soul.